Look at you.
I was saying we forgot to share the link on Facebook. I have a lot of people that will click the link and come straight to our page. So I'm so sorry for y'all that are go to our Facebook page for the link. I totally forgot to post it.
Well, you might need to do.
My phone's not over here.
Well, how's everybody this evening? Hey, Diana at Justice Acres, how are you doing?
Hey, y'all.
I know it was great meeting you at HOA. Sheena Anderson, how are you doing? Homestead Nutrition, y'all doing all right this evening?
So we're excited to be able to talk about a lot of things tonight. HOA is one.
Sorry, I had my phone up. Yeah, we had a good time. You saw our picture. It's actually a brisk, cold, freezing 60 outside. So that's why we had to. Is that light too bright behind your head?
It looks like.
Is it too bright?
Hey, grab my phone when you're up. I'm going to post our link. Hey there, Supper at 7. How are you?
So it was a brisk 60 outside. It was beautiful today.
Hey, Grammy Karen.
Was the prettiest day we've had here really all year.
Yeah, it's been one of the this is the coolest it's been in the afternoon here since summer, I would say.
Definitely.
Hey, Golf Mania. We'll post that one.
Okay, our kids are being loud. Let me get these kids on.
So I don't know if y'all saw our video today, but we went to Polyface Farm first. That was our first stop. And we had a great experience there. So the first experience was hilarious because right when we got out at the farm, one of my daughters had dropped a piece of chocolate under my seat.
I think mommy dropped a piece of
chocolate. And the chocolate melted all over my pants. And I got out and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? So then I get in the store and the lady's like, yeah, there's a porta potty right over there. You can go change in there. And I was like, oh, I have to change clothes in a porta potty? So anyway, thankfully it was big and I didn't have any trouble. It was big. It was like double. It was like a
Amos Farms.
What would you say? A handicap accessible size.
It looked like she messed her pants. I mean, it was like
it was
brown chocolate all over
everywhere. It was really bad.
It was funny though. I thought it was actually the kids had a blast at it. So it was funny though. But we had a blast there. Our drive. If you've been following us for a little bit, but our camper messed up, so we were pushing to get a room. We found a room. Luckily, we found a room in the same hotel that a lot of you guys were in. So it worked out really good. But we were like the last room. We were on like the basement floor of the hotel. But it just worked out great. We were able to meet up with BW Family Farm, and we saw a few more homesteads there at the at Polyface. But we had a blast. It was if you've never been, I think it's a good place to go. He even made a comment.
Just to see his layout, the layout of his farm was really cool.
Hey, getting started on homesteading. Yeah, and the thing is too, you know, the things that he's got going on, most of it we have going on too. But to see someone put it in a bigger scale.
Right, because he has 700 acres. Oh, you are so welcome. I enjoyed talking to you this morning. So he has 700 acres. So
hey, Mountain View Are you turning?
Like for our 30 chickens, he probably has what? What did he say?
Oh my gosh, it's probably
like thousands.
He does like 40,000 meat birds a year. I think.
Mountain View.
But he just his
getting started on homesteading.
Just his permaculture chickens that run behind his cows and his egg layers, his egg production, his egg mobile, what he calls it. And then his pullet operation, then his brooder. I mean, there was thousands upon thousands of chickens there. And then the cows, and then the sheep, and the pigs. There was tons of pigs. So it was a great experience to see every operation he has on the bigger scale.
Yeah. I was blown away, I think, most by his egg mobile. It was huge. I did not realize how big it was until you get there and you walk up. And it's like a shed on steroids with wheels. It's so cool.
Yes, getting started on homesteading. We are going to the Stivers.
Yes, we are. And we are super excited. We actually got to meet Grammy Karen. She's on here in the chat.
Hey, Mimsy Garden.
We actually got, why don't you throw her a wrench for us if she's okay with that? Grammy Karen.
Okay.
And so we got to meet her there, and we were talking about actually the harvest celebration. When we were letting the kids swim at the pool, they were at our hotel. So
yeah, we had a blast.
Good.
We had a blast. We one good thing was we were able to spend time with BW.
Thank you, Grammy Karen.
BW on the front end, and really had some good time with them. We've met them before at Deep South, and but we really just got to have some fun with them. And then through the whole thing, we saw a lot of people that watched us and people we've watched. So it was good to go to HOA, and then we actually the first family we saw when we got to HOA or got to the hotel was the Stivers. But it seemed like we never got to kind of meet up and spend time with them. So it worked out great that we got to eat or see Grammy Karen and the Stivers and another family from South Carolina. And we got to swim. It was just a great time. We had a blast at the very end.
We did. And even like you were talking about when we were sitting at the pool.
Perfect getting started on homesteading.
That was one of the coolest things to me. I feel like we're kind of jumping
Heidi.
around. But one of the coolest things to me was being able to talk to people and build those friendships and relationships and learn from each other. And to me, to sum HOA up like all together, I think that was the best thing about it, was being able to talk to people, right? And I know we've heard that before, but what does community mean? So when we were able to sit down and talk to people and build friendships, I think there's like, for us, we feel like there's a time to whip the cameras out and do the whole YouTube thing, but then there's a time to just like sit down and talk and just have friends and just talk about your farm and, without the camera being there, just being able to, talk about real life stuff and your kids. And to me, like, we got to do that with the Stivers, and we got to, even at HOA, there were some families, the Bornstead.
Hey, New Adventure. Hey, Heaven Central.
Little Mountain Life. Like, we were just able to just talk to them, and just Flip Flop Barnyard was another one. We just got to sit down and just talk to them and learn about their families and learn, how they run their homestead. And so that was probably my favorite part.
Well, the cool thing too is, you feel like you know these folks because you watch them or they watch you, and you have relationships on social media. So when you get to see them, it's like, do you say it's good to meet you or good to see you, or
because you feel like you know them.
You want to hug their neck? I mean, what do? You don't want to be that odd guy. So, but no, it was great. Just like there was a gentleman that walked up the Bornstead. They were there, fixing to have their 9th child.
And he did.
And they did.
I think they're doing good. The baby was requiring a little bit of help last time I checked. So
yeah, but it was great to be able to see some of those, and I love looking at his pictures of his cows on the hill up there at Virginia. So people like that, it was just great to just meet and to see them. Megan Lemonade from Lemons, we got to meet her.
Hey there.
Got to meet her at the Abundant Permaculture tent meet up. So it was great to just see certain people and meet certain people, and just getting to see Joel Salatin and meeting him, and meeting Justin Rhodes and a lot of the other big homesteaders, I guess you could say, in that area. We really thoroughly enjoyed it. And the friendships we made, of course, back at some of the other places like Deep South and the Hootenanny, getting to see some of them again, getting to see the Pratts. I love the Pratts to death, so we got to see them again. And of course, the Aldermans. What's so funny is we live in the same town as the Aldermans.
And see them the same as we do.
We saw them in Michigan and saw them in Virginia. Hadn't seen them yet in Brookhaven.
Yeah, they actually live like 5 miles down the road.
But we said that we were going to do better because we're actually ordering our meat chickens together.
Yep. So surprised. Okay, so y'all have heard me talk about meat chickens and about how I've been like, I just don't know if I'm ready for that.
So get in there and just get it all out.
So my favorite part of all of HOA,
you need to, Amos Farm,
as far as the classes go, was the meat chicken butchering by Joel Salatin. That was my favorite part. I loved all the classes. You know, Doug and Stacy are hilarious.
They're like an old married couple.
I mean,
that's
they
really
are
funny.
hilarious. But I will say, hey,
I'm
Mom.
glad we're home safe too, Miss Kathy.
So, that was my favorite thing. So I will say that I love the friendship. That was probably my favorite thing. But my favorite class was getting to watch him. No, he could do that with his eyes closed. Like, I think he could do one when he was like out cold, sleeping. I mean, he was talking and doing this and doing that and asking questions and telling people, answering questions, and he was still just going. And I'm like,
you know,
oh
again, if you've never met Joel Salatin is I've watched him on tons of videos. I think I've watched every video he's in. But one good thing about him is he is such a unique. He's like a nerd farmer. He knows. I mean, he's so good at what he does, and everything.
I don't know if he would appreciate you calling him a nerd farmer.
He is awesome. But I think what makes him so cool is that he does those things. You know, we saw him on the farm that day.
Yep.
I'm sorry, JJ's sitting in our lab moving the computer, so I'm sorry about that. But he was out there working. I mean, he didn't have to be.
Yep.
You know, we pull up to this gorgeous farm that's a work farm. I'm not talking about picturesque. I'm talking about it's just a big work farm.
Yep.
And he's out there with his cowboy hat, working on the farm, and me and Ben kind of interrupted him probably, but he was just so nice and cared and sat there and talked to us for a good 20, 30 minutes. So we were real pleased with that. So if you ever get to go,
and he really cares about
this movie,
people and people learning. And I'll tell you the reason why I say that is he's supposed to have an event on his property, and he was talking about, if you watched our video, you heard him talking about it some. So he was talking about how
it's the Mother Earth News.
You go to the events at HOA and you listen to the people in the classes and everything, but he is bringing people to his farm. And he said, they're going to get to come out. They're going to get to move cows. You know, they're going to get to come out. They're going to get in with the chickens. I mean, it's like a hands-on thing. So to me, I just feel like that's so important because a lot of people are so scared to do something. I was there. I was just there. I was so scared. I was like, Colby, I don't know about the meat chickens. I can't do it. But then I got to be right up there with him. I got to watch him butcher one. And to me, of course, I still won't be able to take the chicken's life. I just can't. But I will still be able to help. And it's like I said before, I was so uncertain, but to be able to be there and be hands-on made such a huge difference. So while we were there, Miss Patty come up to us and she was like, well, I'm just going to order some meat chickens. And I was like, are you really? Because I had just told Colby, when we get home, we're going to do it. We're ordering meat chickens. We're going to get everything set up.
She wants like 200. She wants 200. She wants to do all week doing it.
No, I don't. So we're going to get between 20, what did I tell her, 25? 25. They're ordering 35, which they're kind of like pros at this. So we're getting some, they're getting some. We're gonna order them together because obviously the more you order, the cheaper it is. So it was amazing.
They have equipment, so it allows us to be able to utilize their equipment and do it as a kind of a group. So it's gonna work out really nice.
Right. So I am super excited about that now.
One question, shit happens. It is actually cool here. You know, it doesn't get really cold here until
not this time of
January.
Year.
We actually talked about moving Christmas probably back to February this year, just because our December is kind of like your January. I mean, your June. So, like today, it's funny. We hey, Salon Girl Gardens. We actually today was like 60 outside. Everybody in town had like their parkas on, their hats on. It was raining, so it was like a true fall day. We've never had that. So, but like you said, in Ohio it's cold. I know there were I had some friends in Kentucky that lost a lot to the frost.
Yeah.
Arkansas, we have not got a frost. Probably won't have a frost till November. So, but hey, we'll take that because actually today was the day we planted all our soul blocks. If you watched that video, all our soul blocks got planted today, other than about 10. And then we planted our collards, our mustards. So we've had a lot of good things going on. So
You want to address some of the comments?
Let's see.
Farmstead talk. I don't call. I just pluck the feathers.
Well, Misty's gonna do it all. She is ready. She is ready. She saw Joel Sullivan do it. She is ready.
The crazy thing is, y'all, seriously, if you never saw him, he makes it look so easy. Like when I say he can do it in his sleep, he can. You could blindfold him and give him a chicken, and y'all, he can do it. Like it's so amazing. He made it look so easy.
On let's see, the quail eggs in the incubator right now. That's awesome. Getting started on homesteading.
We
actually
just
finished.
Yep.
We hatched. Well, we were hatching 30. Of course, you know, with chickens, some hatch, some don't. We ended up getting 17 great chickens, and
Yep.
they will be our future mother hens. Our mother hens that we have now are going to become our permaculture chickens. Will move in our garden.
Yeah.
So
and word to the wise on those, just for anybody that's never incubated, it's kind of a fine line whether you help them hatch or not.
Misty's helped and Misty hasn't.
I have, but I have decided this last batch, for us, we are not going to help hatch anymore. And the reason why I say that is because I know a lot of people, some people do, depending on the situation. Some will say, no, don't do it at all.
Right.
I'm probably leaning more towards the no, don't do it at all, just for anybody who's never incubated their own eggs and maybe would try to learn. So this is what they do. They start pecking their little hole, and then like a whole day will go by and they have not made any progress. So you're so tempted to say, let me help that baby get out.
And there's a reason that they haven't made that progress.
Right.
So,
and that's what I had to learn the hard way, because I'm like, they're alive. They're doing so good. I just want to help them get out, because if they don't, and like I've even have some that have got almost all the shell off, but just like a little piece. And then by the time they do pop out, it's all stuck to them. One or two things. Usually it's because the humidity is not high enough in there, but then they sit there for so long with the shell on their back, it gets stuck to them and it just doesn't end up good. So I told Colby, like, when I see them starting and it's been like a day, I just want to go help them. I want to help them get out, but it's not good.
Right.
Because they usually end up like out of my 6 that I helped hatch, 5 of them died.
Right.
And it was because, and then the last one lived 2 or 3 days and then died.
I mean,
so and I heard somebody say it best: if they're not strong enough to get out of the shell, then they're not strong enough to live outside of the shell. So even though it's so tempting, y'all don't do it. It hurt. It's not fun to watch them die. I hated that.
Right. So hey, back to basics. Yeah.
Anyway,
but those
that's
are doing
my
good.
egg story.
Yeah. The 17 are doing great. They're actually still in a little brooder. So we've got those.
Yep.
They will be shooting to the again to the hen house as soon as we get the other ones out to the permaculture chicken area.
That's a good 9 out of 11.
Yeah, that's really
good.
Usually our percentage is anywhere from 70 to 80%. This time was a little bit lower, but this is the first time that we hatched out 30 at it, or tried to hatch out 30 at a time. Usually it's 9 to 10 with a controlled environment. And like I said, it just things happen. And this is not the perfect time to hatch chickens. If you know, chickens don't thrive during this time, so you have to really keep them in a controlled environment. So, but hey, you know, we're doing well.
Yay!
Farmstead talk. Yeah. Did you get the incubator that we talked about?
Yeah, I know we had discussed on our interview with you about the incubator that we had. Actually, who did we say that we saw? The Stivers. Yeah. We have the same one that the Stivers
and the Pratts have the same one too.
So our goal eventually is going back to the meat chickens and hatching out eggs and all of that. Oh, she said she got a different one.
Well, hey, if you're doing 9 out of 11, that's a great one. So
that's right.
Keep it up.
So, our goal eventually is we're going to buy these meat chickens and basically grow them up 6 to 8 weeks. We'll butcher them off, put them in our freezer. But our goal eventually is to, what brand did you say that we were really looking at?
You know, we're of course buying the Cornish Cross for the broiler this time. We're looking at doing something like the Delawares or the or something like the Jersey Giants, like we've got, kind of more of a dual-purpose chicken. That way, we can have a true sustainable chicken breed.
So it'll be like a cycle.
Eggs, and then of course we'll keep some as meat chickens because our goal, we don't want them to get too big. At that point, we grow them just probably 6 to 8 months versus 6 to 8 weeks. Cornish Cross will grow 6 to 8 weeks, and the whole purpose of those, of course, is to to be meat chickens. The Red Rangers, that's right, Farmstead Talk. Red Rangers are good too. Red Rangers are not going to be, they're going to be a double-breasted chicken like a Cornish cross, but they're not going to grow quite as fast as the Cornish cross.
Do they lay?
No, they're a broiler.
Okay.
Red Rangers is a common chicken. Actually, when we went to Joe Salton's talk, basically he was saying the same thing. He brought up he raises 4 different kind. A Red Ranger and then a Cornish cross is both broilers. Cornish cross being the more popular, the one that you would sell better because it's more like the kind we buy, like a Tyson or like a Sanderson farm in town. So those are the ones that tend to sell best in his farm, especially selling. Then he raises some heritage breed, which are more of a dark meat chicken, not a real heavy double breasted. So for the ones that are more wanting a better, healthier meat, a heritage breed that you raise from eggs, and then of course you do the same things, kind of like what we're talking about. Unless you're used to that kind of chicken, it might not be something that you want to start with. So the Cornish cross tends to be a little bit better, and then the Red Ranger would be right under that for us too.
Yeah.
So
making lemonade from lemons that I have been researching breeds for layers since that's what I want to start with, and that's a really good idea.
I mean, I tell you, for us, we went with the Orpingtons. We have Orpingtons, Barred Rock, Jersey Giants, Easter Eggers,
and they're my favorite,
and Americanas.
And they're really good layers too, by the way.
But I will say this: if you're looking for another good layer, you have your Rhode Island Reds, you have your Delaware Crosses, you have, I mean, there's so many kind. Orpingtons, Americanas. All those are good. Barred Rocks are my favorite because they look like a jailhouse chicken. They're real fat and fluffy.
Well, and I think probably what's most important for us at this point is getting something that we will eventually be able to use for dual purpose. So we'll get the eggs, we'll re-incubate them. If we kill off 10, we'll get 10. We'll get more than that. We'll probably get 20 eggs, incubate those, hatch them out, grow them up to replace. So it's like a cycle that just keeps going. When we kill them off, we replace them. When we kill them off, we replace them. So that's very, very important to us. And before I forget, y'all look. My new shirt. I'm so excited. So we went in Polyface Farm store and I was like, I gotta have a shirt. And you have his.
Oh yeah, Polyface Farms mug.
It was Colby's birthday that day, so I got him a birthday present. I picked him out a mug because he likes coffee all the time. I
do drink a lot of coffee. We are going to try the Red Rangers as well, but we were going to start with the Cornish cross. That's the ones that are ordered for us right now.
Yeah. So we're going in with Alderman Farms, and if y'all aren't familiar with Alderman Farms, check them out. They have some awesome YouTube videos. And Farmstead Talk, yeah, I saw your post. I hated that.
I know, we were looking for you, and then Misty did say that you posted something about the weather was not going to let you be there. So.
Snow. Well, didn't I read that it was snow? Man, I don't like snow.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back. If it's going to be that cold, I would rather see snow than just a bunch of coldness. I would rather see snow, but I don't like cold, so that can be a problem if you want to see snow.
Yeah, the sex links for us, we tried the golden sex links and the black sex links. The golden sex links are pretty chicken. They were not good layers for us, but the black sex links were pretty good layers when they lasted. You know, a chicken's life is pretty much, you know, I mean, they'll live a long time, but pretty much 0 to 6 to 8 months is they're chicks and pullets. They're not going to be laying as much. From 6 to 8 months to a year and a half, that's their laying time. So that's what you really want to get them in their prime. Once they get about 1.5 years to 2, they're still laying, and they will lay up till 3, but they tend to be not as good layers. They tend to start really regressing. So that's the ones that are the old chickens, the old hens. Basically, we'll move those to the permaculture beds, and that will be their life as they'll finish tilling up until they are cooled. So.
Yeah. And Farmstead Talk said, still so bummed out for missing Joel Salton. Yeah. That was definitely one of our favorite things. Like I said, all the classes were good. All the ones that we went to, even though we don't like really live like Doug and Stacy do as far as being totally off grid and stuff. Just listening to them, they're hilarious. Yeah. They're so funny. So I love listening to them. But by far, hands down, the hands-on demonstration was the best part because you just don't hear it. And, you know, have somebody just telling you, well, I do this or I do that or this, or, you know, just whatever. So being able to watch him get that chicken and from quack. Well, how would you say it? The very first part of it, they dropped the chicken because they were trying to get a weight, and it was just it was funny. But anyway, from start to finish, it was just really, really good to be able to see that. And so the demonstration part was a thumbs up from us. I will say that I would have loved personally, and we haven't even talked about this because we haven't prepared at all. Colby come home from work and went right out to the yard, and I went to do a church class. So we haven't talked at all. But I will say, with it being a 2-day conference, there was a lot of classes, a lot of stuff to offer. But I would have loved to have more of a section besides just the lunch break, of more community time. Does that make sense?
Well, basically,
because from 8 to 5, besides like the lunch break, it was class, and we wanted to be at those classes.
Little Feet Farmstead.
But at the same time, we wanted to be able to walk around and talk to people. But we felt like if we were walking around and talking to people, that we were missing the class.
But see,
so I would like to see more, maybe a section blocked off to just devoted to.
And some people just stayed out and did a lot of that, which is fine. But when we
felt like we were missing something,
when we went to like the Hootenanny and Deep South, a lot of that is more the picnic style, kind of dinner on the grounds kind of thing.
Right. And, speakers would come in, but then there was some lax time where you got to kind of intermingle with people and talk
Every
more.
Event's different. I mean, I will say that for us, that was the most structured one that we were at versus the other 2 or 3 that we went to.
Which is good in a way. I'm just saying that maybe like for an afternoon, like have a whole day and then half a day, and then maybe the afternoon let it be time for just people. Because if you didn't stay at the same hotel with them or whatever, if you're in the classes, you miss seeing people. So I would have liked to have seen maybe a block of time blocked off where we could like intermingle with people and sit down and talk to people, that we wouldn't otherwise have gotten to do. But as far as the layout, the flow, the speakers, the vendors, everything was really, really good.
Farmstead Talk
was laid out good. Everything.
Yeah, the presenters, pretty much all the presenters, other than I would say other than Joel Salatin walked around a little bit and he did a kids reading, but really all the other presenters, Jill Winger had a tent, Justin Rhodes had a tent, and then the rest, everybody just kind of walked around and talked. So everybody kind of got to meet everybody and shake hands or take pictures or whatever they wanted to do.
The only person I did not see with a tent. So the Land had a tent. I did not see White House on the Hill with a tent, and I did not see Roots
White House on the Hill
and
Roots Refuge. Both of those, they walked around constantly talking to folks. So they did a great job of that too. Doc Creed, thank you for subscribing. Thank you. Alabama is not far from us for sure. What part of Alabama are you in? South or north? Thank you for looking at our beautiful land. We love it ourselves, and we take great pride in it. So thank you for coming on. Let us know what part of Alabama you're in. We watch Doc Creed. We watch Hoss Tools a lot from Alabama, and of course, I think everybody watches the Dancing Farmer too. So he's always fun to watch too from Alabama.
Yeah, making lemonade from lemons. I really enjoyed listening to the presenters, but you're right. Those I talked to, I was always worried that I was keeping them from going to the presenters. Well, and that's why I guess I was saying, just like when we were at our Abundant Permaculture kind of get together, like we met the sweetest couple from South Carolina in that
homestead.
Yeah, and they're like, no, you're talking about Wild Coffee. They're
Wild
from
Coffee.
Florida.
I'm
talking about Samantha.
The couple from South Carolina.
Right.
Okay,
her name was Samantha, and we were able to just sit down and talk. And so they're trying to start their homestead, and they just finished their house.
Great couple.
And yes, so they just finished building their house, and They are trying to
Hey, Able Farmer,
start
welcome.
this homesteading thing. So, we were able to talk with them and share with them about what we have, what we do, and some stuff like that. So that was really cool. But had we not had that, we probably would have never ran into them.
Let me go back and say this though. By the way, welcome, Able Farmer. South of Birmingham, y'all have some major traffic issues in Birmingham right now.
Yes, you do.
Let me say this for
The Able Farmer from Ohio.
For us as homesteaders, and we've been doing this for a few years. We have a lot of the things that are going on. I wouldn't say that we learned anything new, but it was just the fact of community there. Now, I will say this. Let me go back and say this.
Except for the chicken butchering.
For HOA, if you're someone wanting to get in homesteading or someone that's kind of on the cusp of learning a few details, or you may know a little bit, but not a lot, you're trying to learn this specific about a meat chicken, or try to learn specific about permaculture, or specific about layers, whatever it may be, I think that is the perfect event for you, because you learn from someone that is very hardcore, like a Doug and Stacy, who's off grid, who does everything very back to pioneer, back to Amish country, that kind of living. But then you have people that are more commercialized in it, such as Joel Selton, such as Justin Rhodes, such as Roots and Refuge, that take a little bit different spin on it. So now when I say that, I think everybody should go, especially if you are just trying to get into homesteading. There was a lot of the people there that, they either had a suburban home, or maybe just never grew a tomato plant, but they just wanted to see what this life was about. I think it's an awesome event, and I would tell you, you need to go. It's worth the money you spend. For people who are doing these things, it's a great refresher, but it's also a good community reminder to say, hey, you're not in it alone. You're going to have mess ups. You're going to have good days, but it was good to get together.
We were able to sit down and talk Flip Flop Barnyard for a while. We actually missed one of the classes for that. And so we got to really build a relationship with them. And she put out today that they just had a calf, and their calf didn't make it. So, yes, Farmstead Talk, great networking. I mean, and to me, that's like what it was all about. I mean, it was so important to be able to, it's harder for us because we have so many kids, but to just be able to go around and talk to people without paying attention to the kids, obviously, but just being able to talk to those people, and just like Cecilia, you said, trying to do this homesteading thing in the city, just being able to encourage people, do what you can where you are. And I think that's such a good motto for homesteaders, because it's like, even like Colby was saying, so many people from Doug and Stacy do it one way, all the way to somebody that can do it a different way. So do what you can where you are, and being able to encourage people through that. And just, just like with Flip Flop Barnyard, I mean, I know that was really hard, losing a calf. I mean, you wait for so long for that calf, and they even brought it inside, y'all. They brought that baby inside and tried to warm it up and did all kinds of stuff. And by the end of the day, it just didn't make it. So you're able to share like those experiences, those good, those bad. And so HOA was a great event. Somebody said, I missed it this year. Hope next year. Let me go back to that comment. I don't remember where it was at. Okay, back to the basics. Hate that I missed it this year. Hope to go next year. Were you able to go before? Have you ever been before? This was our first year. And like Colby said, I wouldn't necessarily say that we learned something new. Hey, Two Family, I missed your comment. But to get the refreshers and be able to talk to people, and that was definitely by far our favorite. I wish that there would have been a section, because the only section of time blocked off on the schedule was the time for lunch. And we were gathering up our kids and running to our car and trying to fix our lunch real quick and get back before the next class. So I would have loved to seen a section blocked off just to maybe like the end of one afternoon once all the classes are over for people to just kind of walk around and talk and not feel like that I'm missing something by not being at the class. I don't know how that would go as far as taking away from speakers, but not to feel any pressure, just to be able to walk around and talk to people. And I think that would be a great thing to do maybe in the future. So, but overall, it was very well organized. It was very well planned out. We really enjoyed it. For anybody that's interested in homesteading and maybe the task on hand. Another good thing that I really liked was the question and answer time. So some people were able to ask the speakers different questions about what they think maybe would work for them. So I thought that was really good. So anybody starting a homestead or interested in starting a homestead, it would have been really good to go to try to kind of get that feel and that knowledge. Let me go back to some of these comments because my sidekick over here is gone. He's on the phone. So when business calls, you got to take it. That's a good idea, a pot lunch at HOA. Now, Grammy Karen, maybe you mentioned, but that's kind of what the Stivers are doing at the harvest celebration, which I think is like such an awesome idea. And the Pratts do it at the Hootenanny in Michigan too. So yeah, really cool idea. I would have liked to seen more maybe, and we weren't the only ones going to our car because it's so hard to pack coolers up. There's really nowhere to put them. So lots of people during that lunch break were just going back off into their cars. So I would have liked to have seen maybe more time to where we could not miss a class, but be able to walk around and talk to people because there was a time period where we were talking and we were missing classes. So that would have been nice. Let's see. Getting the blankets out, cooling down. Yes. If you saw our picture here, this was one of the cooler afternoons that we've had. That's okay. One of the cooler afternoons that we've had since spring. It's got really cool this afternoon, which we're enjoying it. So, organic raw roots farm. Hi, I live in the city half of the week because hubby's job. I understand that. And I have a garden in the city. My 10 acres is Fort White, Florida. I live off grid the other half of the week, but you're right to do what you can. Wow, that's a big adjustment from going off grid to in the city. I'm sure that's probably hard to juggle, but you're right. Do what you can where you are. If your husband has to work to where y'all have that source of income, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, but also being mindful, when you are able to get away of your land and living off your land is very important. All right, never been to HOA. I'm just starting out on a homesteading journey, still in a ruralish area. Neighborhood, but gardening, hunting, and fishing. Hey, you have to start somewhere. The gateway in, a lot of people will say this, the gateway in is chickens. For us, it definitely was chickens. We have had a garden since we were married. I've told many of y'all that before. Definitely had chickens. We have improved that over time with learning how to incubate, learning how to kindle eggs and stuff like that. So start somewhere. And when we first got chickens, I didn't know anything about incubating. If you would have told me to kindle an egg, I would have said, what do you mean kindle an egg? So you have to start somewhere. It's a journey. It's a process. It takes time. It takes funds. And it takes a lot of research. One thing I would definitely say, I would never just jump into something. So with everything that we've always tried to do, we've always tried to do our research and be smart. And even in that, you will still have failures, but to know, to have an idea. Like we did a lot of research before we got our bees. So, let's see, I easily drop. I just lost the comment. I'm trying to catch up on the comments, y'all, because my sidekick is still on the phone. Okay, I don't think I don't think many of those are directed to me. Oh, you're going to be at the harvest celebration! Yay! Good. Well, I'm excited to meet y'all. At first we weren't 100% sure if we were going to be able to come, and then we whipped out the calendar, and we were like, "Oh, we're going to be in Tennessee that weekend." So we're going to spend one day leaving Tennessee, and we're going to drive up. It's going to take like 3.5, maybe 4 hours to get there. So we're going to make it. It's going to be a really long day, but we're going to get up really early that morning and drive, spend the whole day, and then drive back home. So we're excited too. J Dog's Place. Howdy. Organic Raw Root says I drive 5 hours every weekend for the farm. That's a long ways. The harvest celebration. An able farmer. Grammy Karen, you can fill them in probably on more details than I can. The harvest celebration is going to be in Kentucky. The Stivers are hosting that, and they are having a potluck style. Bring your soups and stuff, and that's going to be real fun. They've got several speakers coming in now. Grammy Karen is Jen's mother, and she is really helping them put that together and put that on. From what I heard, they were shooting for 500, but y'all maxed that out. So not sure. They were telling us when we were at HOA, not sure that all 500 would be able to come, but that's still a lot of people. So it's going to be an awesome event, and we are super excited to be able to come. Holland's Heroes. Hello there. I'm new to homesteading and get to VA from, let's see, they're going too fast. New Mexico is just not affordable for us at this time. We would love to go to HOA though. Yeah, for us, it was almost 16 hours drive. So we had to split that up into 2 days. We had some unfortunate expenses, stuff happen. We were going to take our RV, which means basically you stay for half of the price of what hotel rooms cost. We pulled it up to our house. We were going to wash it, get it vacuumed and cleaned out. I was going to kind of spruce it up and everything. And our generator was giving us fits. So the last minute, we decided to cancel our spot and try to find a hotel room, and thankfully we did. And we weren't really looking. We weren't looking to have to do that, but it is a long drive for us as well, but definitely worth it for the friendships and the bonds and stuff that we got to make. So.
All right, what I missed? So you got to catch me up on everything.
A lot. You've been gone for a long time.
I'm sorry.
I was telling them business calls. You got to go to work. Yeah, Frankfort, Kentucky. Yeah, she's filling y'all in. We started talking about the harvest celebration that's coming up. We're going to be going to.
Hey, Southern Blessed
the able farmer was asking some questions, so I think Grammy Karen's filling y'all in on that. Southern Blessed Homestead. Did you just say hey to me?
I did. You need to listen more often.
I was reading.
Where have you been?
I was reading all the names. That's okay. Yes, we did have a great time on our trip. So we didn't talk anything about DC. So DC, if y'all have never gone into DC, we took the advantage of being about an hour and a half south.
We are actually a farming channel, but the last 2 or 3 videos we've had has been on like touring America, I guess. I'm not sure. So So please, if you're a new subscriber, if you give me I got to get rid of some footage. So we're going to use one more day to do that. But we started back on the farm working today. So that video hopefully will come out Friday
Yeah,
or
so
Saturday.
when we record, it's
We're
usually
a farming channel.
we are usually a few days behind. But I will
Hey, Freedom
say,
Homestead, how are
hey,
y'all?
Freedom. So I will say that we took advantage of being so close to DC, and we went for the day. We did a lot of walking, y'all. Colby's phone clocked us 10 miles, and for us, it's not really that bad. Okay, I mean, my feet were hurting.
I don't know. Mommy was complaining a little bit too, like the children were.
I had on boots that I'm not used to wearing. They were new boots, and they were not good for my shoes. But anyway, we could handle it. That wasn't the deal. It was the 5 kids that we were dragging 10 miles around DC.
Breakdown, throwing their stuff down. We got to the very end.
And it started raining.
If you know anything about DC, we're at the Capitol building. And the Capitol building, the closest DC metro train is not close. So here we are. It's starting to storm on us. We have nothing but a stroller.
And we're running under a tree.
We're under a tree with about 100 other people, like huddled up, like trying not to get wet, and got soaked. So
and I looked at the forecast because I was more concerned about the temperature, right? Because we're from the south. We're from the south, and I was more concerned about having everybody dressed appropriately for the temperature. And the rain, it did not have forecast on the rain. So we did not pack our umbrella that we had in the car, or our rain jacket, or our rain jackets that we had in the car.
I asked her.
And then we get there, and he whips his phone out, and he says, because he's fussing at me the whole time. You looked at the weather. Why didn't you tell me it was going to rain?
I said we needed to carry rain jackets. Who had the rain jacket? This guy.
So I said,
but I didn't have it with me. I had it in the car.
So everybody else was in the car too. So anyway,
she should have been watching.
Anyway, we get there and it's raining, and he whips out the phone to look up the weather, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't see any rain on there." I was like, "Yeah, it hasn't been any rain on there, but it started raining." And so here we are. It's pretty cool outside. What would you say, like 60s?
Yeah, around 60s.
In the 60s. And then the bottom falls out, so we get soaking wet.
Two-family homestead.
We're extremely away from the next metro station, and we're huddled under this little tree with all these other people.
And we're at the Capitol, and we're literally like this with everybody. The kids are sitting in the stroller, and we're just standing there, just getting soaking wet. I mean, it's just like, what else do you do? So we're just getting like soaking wet. And finally, it like stops. So then you're soaking wet.
Our cabin in the woods.
So you're soaking wet.
And you're cold.
You're cold.
The kids are crying.
And your
We're
feet
nowhere
is like
near a
slopping
train
wet.
station.
And they're like, every sock or every clothing you have on you is wet. So now you're trying to then make it back to a DC Metro train that you didn't even take because you were used to taking the one on the other side of town.
But yes, DC is amazing. So I will say this, even though the end was kind of like,
hey, Thrifty BG,
we kind of started falling to pieces at the end after the 10 miles. So we got there that morning, and none of us, well, I had been on a subway like years and years ago, but it was just really quick. So we get on and we ride 30 minutes into DC. So we make a lot of stops. The kids are, well, Jennings was not having fun, but all the kids are having fun. And we get there and we start off by the Smithsonian. No, let's back up.
We started off at the Smithsonian, but we realized
we had
they're
to
having
walk
like 50,000 runners in Washington. So now we see the Smithsonian, like we get off, we come up, and the Smithsonian's sitting right there.
But you can't walk across the street
because there's runners everywhere.
Thousands, y'all. When I say thousands, I mean thousands of people running in the road.
Jill,
so it goes
at the pool.
Oh, hey!
I'm glad y'all can join us tonight.
So there's thousands of people running. So we can't just go in between them. We had to walk all the way around their run just to get to where we wanted to go.
Salon Girl Gardens, she's cute. I'm just here. So thank you for the comment there.
But anyway, so that was a little like, okay.
Missy's throwing stuff at the runners,
No,
trying to get them to
I'm
stop.
not. It was our army. Thank you. It was our military and army.
A cool thing to see because there were so many people running in this event.
Right.
And a heartbreaking thing, we actually saw a guy run. He had no legs.
Y'all, I teared up.
From a war. He was a
I'm
veteran.
gonna tear up again.
And it was just so special to see him run this 10-mile race. And you see the support he had. He had people behind him that could care less about the race. They were helping him. But they were just there for him. So it was, in all actuality, it was a great experience to see. It did make us walk a little bit longer. But it was a great event. And it's something that they actually, there was people in our hotel staying for this event an hour away. Yep. So it was a huge event, huge undertaking.
So we get there and we get into all of that.
Behind everything.
But yes, what an accomplishment to say the least. When I tell y'all I stood there and my eyes teared up, and I'm not typically what would you say, a mushy kind of emotional person. So anyway, but to see him just stopped me in my tracks, and I made the comment to Colby. I said, that just didn't come from a car wreck. That didn't come from diabetes or whatever. He was injured in war. I mean, and so that really made us step back and take time right there just to appreciate, what they were doing and the people that was there with him and supporting him and all the people that were on the roads cheering them on. It was an amazing thing to see.
To me, Washington is just a humble place. I mean, not the place itself. I know politicians are there, and it's a kind of a crazy DC, but just to take in for people like us who really see the importance of freedom and what it brings to our country in homesteading and homeschooling. We're homeschoolers, and we have the freedoms we do. It was great to see that, and Washington was so instrumental in our lives to see that. Like the museums represented that. Mount Vernon was a huge, awesome. That's probably my favorite place. So,
don't jump the gun.
But Washington, as a whole, you see all these memorials. It was just great. We really enjoyed it.
Really was. Just being able to be at the White House, knowing that so much has happened, so much history has been made there, was really awesome for us. And thank you, Freedom. I mean, we were trying to savor every moment of it. It was really awesome. So many first memories for our family and for our kids, and just trying to teach them along the way that, freedom is not free. Freedom costs people's lives. And so the next day when we went to Arlington and they were able to look at all those graves, all those sacrifices, from the men and women who gave their lives to the spouses that were there with them, because the men and women make a sacrifice, but the families make a sacrifice too. So the wives and the children that were there buried with them.
Very great experience.
It was awesome.
And for us as homeschoolers, it was great for our kids to see that. And what was even cooler, we're Christian conservatives. So if you really look at everything in these Smithsonian Museum and everything of old culture and old relics, George Washington's grave, everything was faith-based. So it was so awesome to see how God was so influential in their life, and how we take.
Thank you, Grammy Karen.
We take all that for granted again, but to see that,
especially a lot of our generation.
Yeah, especially that's right, our generation. But it was just a great experience, and if you hadn't been, you need to go. You need to ride the train in. Don't try to drive it because you'd be crazy. You're not gonna find a parking spot. And what makes it even better is when you top it off.
The history is what makes it. Glad y'all had a great time making memories. It really does.
My favorite
history that is there is just, it kind of almost blows your mind. Or for me, it did. It kind of just, even when we were at Arlington, I didn't mean to cut you off, but even when we were at Arlington, I didn't realize that the Kennedys were buried there. Taft was buried there. Abraham Lincoln's son
and grandson and some of their family were there.
Yeah, well, it was his son and his daughter-in-law and their son. All was buried right there. So you get to walk around Taft. Did I say Taft?
Yeah. You said it.
So
great experience.
It was awesome. I mean, it was, I guess to me, it was a little like mind blowing. Like,
right, Grammy Karen.
I'm right here with these people. I mean, it was just so then probably all time, hands down, favorite part of our whole entire trip was Mount Vernon.
Definitely. Mount Vernon.
So if you're a
awesome.
homesteader, interested in the homesteading, you're going to HOA,
I mean,
work Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon.
It was amazing.
I mean, Mount Vernon, you see this pioneer lifestyle of someone who, I mean, George Washington was very influential in our country. But not only that, and don't get me wrong,
he's buried on his property.
That's right. And don't get me wrong,
really cool.
He had big monies during that time, but to see this man who had a house, who had farm, who had land, he talks about why he had sheep, why he had the pigs, why he had the this and that, why he had the outhouse, why he had the smokehouse. Everything had a purpose, down to the forest he had. If he cut this tree, he planted another one. The trees were there to light fires. It was like a true permaculture and sustainable household that this guy did back in 1792 or 1794 when he built Mount Vernon, and where he lived and how he was sitting over this river. But every outbuilding, he had a reason for it. And it was saying, hey, if we're going to cut this tree, we need to have a purpose for us to cut this tree.
And his kitchen garden.
Right.
Y'all.
It was absolutely gorgeous.
It was so cool. And I don't know if he actually had it laid out like
Just
that.
Like that.
I didn't see a sign. We were trying our hardest. There was so many people there. And speaking of so many people, we got there at like 11. And the next available tour to go through Washington's house, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
4 o'clock. So we couldn't stay. So we couldn't get our tour through the house, which was really bummed. I kept saying, I really want to go through the house. And I really want to go through the house. And he wouldn't say, okay, we'll just stay. I was going, I really want to go through the house.
She kept saying it, but I had to drive like 9 hours that day. And then
we had so far to drive home. So we had to leave. But anyway, back to his kitchen. So his kitchen garden. So he had like squares and triangles, all different types of the way it was laid out. But the coolest thing was he had his carrots, and then he would have like thyme all the way around it, like bordered all the way around. And then he would have peppers, and then he would have borders of rosemary all the way around.
They said he liked to keep herbs on the outside and liked to keep herbs close because he could utilize those.
Did you see that?
Yeah, there was a little spot where the garden guy was, and it was basically saying that he wanted to keep his market garden, which was down by his orchard, but his kitchen garden, he wanted to make sure.
They did call it a kitchen garden.
He wanted his kitchen garden to be able to sustain them for 12 months. And the whole purpose of it is it had medicinal reasons like the herbs and things like that.
Remember seeing that.
So a lot of those things that he had for purpose. So it's kind of like us, we have our cottage garden, we have our kitchen garden, we have our market garden. It's amazing that this guy's, not only is he president or the Revolutionary War hero.
So we think our times today are so much more advanced. They were doing the same things hundreds of years ago.
He had the first in the United States building made for strictly compost.
Yeah, I do remember
how
reading
awesome was that?
It was a big, huge building.
He said,
he was a horseman. He broke horses. He was a horseman. So they were putting all of that.
The sheeps and the pigs and the horses
and the cows. He had a building, just like Joel Salatin, designated for all manure.
He called it his dung shed. How awesome was that? So I'm thinking, here we are. We're trying to compost. We're trying to do this
new stuff that they did. 1830.
He was the first one that ever built a structure for compost, and that was on the sign saying people thought he was crazy. For that.
Cool. So if you ever find your way to HOA, make a day for Mount Vernon. I'm telling y'all, it's worth it. It's so worth it. And he was buried there. So we got up to his grave, and I was all like, that's where he's buried. But what's really cool is they actually had a little side over, because what river was that?
This is our energy, or my energy. They said they liked our energy.
What river was that?
I think that's the Potomac.
Okay, so his house.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody that would.
His house, which was beautiful from the outside. Like I said, we didn't get the tour, but his house sits up on this hill. And overlooking it is just the beautiful river. The setting was so
yes,
pretty.
it's coffee.
And so right down from that is where he was buried. Him and his family, what did it say, 25 family
Thanks, Inspector
members?
Basics.
25 family members were originally buried, and it was right there off the river. It was so pretty. But it said that in his will that he allowed his family to be able to move them if they needed to. So we got to go to the place where he was initially first buried, and then for whatever reason, I never found out why they decided to move him.
Because he felt like that was a bad spot and it was going to crumble, so it wasn't built right. So they said in his will, he said that they were able to move him if they needed to.
If they
back in
needed to.
1820 or something.
Okay.
Like that.
So
what state are we in? We're in Mississippi, by the way, off-grid desert farming.
So they took them and moved them to another place, and like his and Martha's were out there together, and then there was a vault behind them where all the other family members were buried, and it was just so like I'm standing there in this moment, and I'm like, we are standing here with George Washington,
Northern Arizona,
our
crazy.
very first president. So to me, it was just like, you know, this is so cool. And then it got even cooler. He didn't really seem as mused, but Jennings was being the baby was being a little crazy. But so we go through right off to their burial was a slave memorial that they had set up, that apparently George Washington had set up a place just for his workers to be buried, but none of them were marked. So we walk through there and we see a bunch of white lines like marked off like they were graves. And there was a guy that had built.
They were doing archaeological digs there.
Right. Like while we were there.
Truly to mark, they wanted to come back and truly mark each grave and find out exactly how many graves were there. If it be family, if it be workers, whatever it may be. So it was really cool because they were taking the time to archaeologically dig to be able to honor that grave site.
So they had already had
really
like
neat.
I don't remember how many he told me, but it was like in the teens. And then they had one section beside where they were going, and they were digging under the roots of a tree. They were cutting roots of a tree and digging under the roots of a tree.
It was really a cool experience.
So cool. So he said they dig like 5 by 5 at a time, 5 feet by.
I can't remember what he told
I don't remember what he said, but anyway, it was so cool. So I was asking him all these questions, like when I know he was probably thinking, "Will this girl go away?" But I was just like in the moment. So I was asking him, when you identify a place, do you identify if it's male or female? Because you can do that by like their hip set and stuff like that. And then I was asking, or like if they're children or adults, like are y'all noting all of that, or are y'all just finding a grave and just marking it? And he said they were trying to identify as best as they could.
But they want to at least honor them and have a true proper burial.
He did say, obviously, it's way easier to identify if it's child or adult, depending on the buildup of the skeletal frame versus male or female. But I know it's doable. But he said that they were doing as much as they could. So how cool is that? Y'all, we were watching them down there working. It was so cool.
Off-grid North Arizona. That's what kind of temperatures y'all are having there. Pizza Hut, it's not really that cold. I mean, it's cold as it's been.
It's
so
cold
far.
As it's been in our area.
It's
so
probably,
to us,
I think it's 50,
chilly.
58, 59 right now.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be in the 70s and 50s throughout the week. Like this is fall weather for us, and hopefully get some stuff planted all this week. That's what I've been doing. So not too cold here. Hope it gets cold.
I didn't know anything about his teeth. When we went through the museum, which was so cool.
What's so cool is that they debunked a lot of the myths, because they said a lot of people didn't know about his childhood. So a lot of people, because he was this, Revolutionary War hero and, colonel, and then of course our president, they didn't have a lot of history of his childhood. So they go through and they say, okay, they talk about the cherry tree, talk about the wooden teeth, talk about every little aspect of his life. And then they'd say, he was just a common kid who lost his father. His mother kind of kept him under shelter. So it was neat how, we were hoping this guy was like this war hero at 10, and really he was just a kid that learned how to be a surveyor because his mama didn't want him to go to war. and also then he becomes
He
the president of
actually,
the new United
he
States.
actually, it said that at least 2 different times he tried to join
Yeah, she would let
and
him.
she would not let him. So he was a surveyor with actually, we stayed in a town called Fairfax.
Yeah,
And actually he
it's
and
named after him.
right,
The surveyor that
actually
worked for him.
Fairfax was the person that employed George Washington when he was a teen. So pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
we got to learn so much, but just the homesteading setup on Washington's property was just
cool.
amazing.
It was cool.
It was just, the layout was awesome. All the original buildings that were there. The smokehouse. I mean, it was the horse stables, the washroom. I mean, it was just so cool the way they had it set up. It was so cool. And there was one other thing I wanted to mention about when we were zooming through the museum, I would have loved to have been able to walk through a little bit slower and read more on the wall. But we had a day and a half, y'all, to do all of this. We were there all day Sunday, and then
We're like
shortly
running with the stroller. All the kids were like wondering, what are we doing?
And
we went
then-
through everything in like a day and a half.
Yeah,
Crazy.
we did. So
Pandemonium.
we didn't get to spend as much time as we wanted to, but we got to do a lot that we had planned and that we had hoped. Actually, Mount Vernon, we tacked on the end because we had heard such awesome things about it, and we can't speak highly enough of it.
Food forest. Just want to mention this food forest permaculture. I checked the status of the hat. I know it seems like it takes forever. It's still in customs. I don't know.
You need to probably call.
I mean, I don't know how long a hat stays in customs, but it's coming. It's just sitting at U.S. Customs on the border, so
You
it's
probably
coming.
need to
Food
call and
forest.
check on that.
I will. I might have to. I might have to just send them another one. But anyways, it's on its way, food forest. We're just waiting to get through customs. I don't know what they want to expect a hat for. I even put on the thing you can go through and pay a little bit more to kind of skip skip customs. It didn't work. So it's on its way though.
You probably need to call and just ask what the deal is, especially if you have a number.
Yeah, I do.
Anyway, so
we had a blast though.
That was probably my favorite of the overall whole trip. George Washington, the history, his legacy, his homestead. It was awesome.
Pizza Hut. We actually, I know we've talked about everything under the sun tonight, but we actually are farmers. So, yes, we have beef cows, dairy cows that we milk. We have American guinea hog pigs. We have.
She should be due with her first litter the
December.
end of this year.
Yeah. And then we have chickens, of course. We have 2 bee apiaries, and then we have gardens and greenhouses.
And we're getting meat chickens. We're ordering them this week with a family that lives down the road from us. That also has a farm. So we're all going in and ordering them together because obviously the more you buy, the cheaper it is. So
Holland Heroes, I'm not sure just because we're not from the West. I do know that Off Grid that's on here is from Arizona. They may know. And if y'all do know, let Holland's Heroes know. Freedom Homestead, we did see the changing of the guard. There's a bunch of kids there. Misty and them kind of sat beside them. I had Jennings, so I tried to stay a little distance.
I tried to get as much footage as I could, but everybody has to stand during the changing of the guard. So we were like perfect. And then they were like, everybody stand. And then all of the class, it was like classes like schools. So everybody stood up and I was like, oh no. So I tried to get as much as I could because that was so cool. And I had to threaten my kids with their lives and tell them if they move a muscle or they say a word that they were going to get in some serious trouble, because anybody that ever knows, anybody that's ever gone knows that they're very serious about reverence. So I was trying to really stay on them about that.
Subject 7, I don't think we've read the whole book on George Washington for Rebecca. Have you?
I don't think so.
We love Rebecca, but
we use Rebecca.
I don't know. We hadn't done that.
Good deal. Last weekend I smoked one of our 4 meat birds. Woo, woo. We'll be having some meat birds soon.
Hey, Amy. Yes, ma'am, we are.
So we're super excited about so much stuff. We're going to be adding the meat birds on our farm.
A few things that I think what's cool about always meeting other homesteaders. Let me go back to HOA just for a second. I know we're fixing to get off here because we've been on for an hour and 9 minutes.
Little Feet Farm
we
said they're doing
raise
their second batch this week.
we raise our hogs in a closed pen like a lot of other people do.
Yeah, that is something else that we decided to do for Poly Farm.
We have we have pastures, but then we have pine forest, pine thicket, and we've been talking about putting them in there. We've just kind of pushed it away.
Well, we were a little nervous, just trying to. If you put them in there, can they get out?
And our American Guinea hog, are a heritage breed, and they are a really nice heritage breed. So we were worried about they're not cheap. In other words. So what we thought about doing is buying probably 2 or 3 more feeder pigs, such as a Tamworth or a Manganista or some of those bigger pigs, and let them just go in and be pastured forward, kind of like what City Pasture is, kind of like what Joel Salton has. He kept his in with just 2 strands of polytape. So we've been kind of we thought about that, but I guess seeing that in operation, I've heard a lot of farmers do that. We've always kept our pigs just in a cage, a nice big pen that they got tons of room. Actually, probably too big for what they have. But we're going to actually go ahead and put some out there too. So, when you're able to go to places like that or talk to other ones, not that we are doing anything wrong or different, and not that they're doing anything right or wrong, it helps you kind of bounce ideas off of yourself. Like with us getting the sheep coming soon to where we put them, it's going to work out perfect because they're going to be real close to the pigs, and so they can kind of work together in that city pasture. Our cows and chickens are working together, so it's just a great permaculture idea.
We have a plan, but it's like I was telling
Polytape Little Feet Farm
right, I was telling all of y'all earlier when Colby was on the phone. So do what you can where you are with what you got, and it takes time. It takes experiences. It takes money monetarily. You have to get there. So we have built our farm up over. You can tell it's getting late. I'm getting tired. Are you done?
Can you get it out?
Anyway, so we're getting there. It has taken time. We have future goals. Our next thing is our meat chickens. So that'll be the next thing you're going to be seeing videos on. That's going to be new on the homestead. But there are still so many things that we want to do. We have future plans, future goals. We're getting there. We'll eventually. I don't know if we'll eventually have everything, but it's a process. So even though we have a lot, we're doing a lot. There's still more we want to add, more we want to do, but it just takes time. It takes time and money. Nothing is free.
And work.
That's right. Well, that's what I was saying. It takes time. So today, me and Aiden was out after we finished school. We went and put the hay on the back of the Polaris and filled the chicken coop up twice because old Daddy-O is at work and
our mirrors, thank you so much.
Have to be done.
Thank you so much for watching our videos and subbing. I'm guessing you started with the American Guinea hog and now you're with the GOS. Help me on that. I don't know what kind of hog you're talking about there. But we love the American Guinea hog, but like I said, we will be moving to keep the American Guinea hog because they're heritage breed. We can sell. We like how their lard does. We like that they're forage pigs, but we are moving to meat hogs to go out in the pasture. In the forest, our forest area. So.
Right. Now tell me what kind of wire he had around that.
He uses polywire. We use polytape.
But that was pretty big.
Yeah, it was just polywire. Let's see.
Yeah, but one did get out. We're out there. I think he was curious, and Ben from VW was like,
"We're standing there.
We're standing there. Back in.
We're standing there, and we're like, here we are trying. We just met. We're just
standing there talking.
We just met Joel Salton. None of his pigs out, and all of a sudden, one pig just comes out like he wants to visit with us. And I'm like, of all things to happen, I hate to call the farm sitter up here and say, hey, we got one of your pigs and he's out and we can't get him in. Can you come help us? So we don't want to do that.
Like scared him back in. So anyway, but we had it was a great time, great experience. And after the meat birds, we're definitely
We'll
going
have
to
to try
be
those while I'm
looking.
here.
What kind was it? I missed it.
He was saying they're perfect pasture and forest raising. For us, we've got to have something for forest. Where our pastures are, our cows are in.
Oh, there they are.
Gloucester Old Spots. I've never even heard of those.
I haven't either.
Where we have a pine thicket. We have pastures for our cows, but we have a pine thicket there. It just sits there.
It just sits there. We want to put them to work.
So we're going to work
Something
some out
that's
there.
going to be beneficial for us.
Hey, Noah's Ark.
Be beneficial for our farm. Because they will work the land for us while they're providing for us. So it's kind of like a no-brainer, but we just have to get there.
Jeremiah's 10. Are you doing the direct in computer? Help me on that. We are on the laptop here. I don't know if that's what you're referring to.
I think that he was talking in with somebody else. So I think he's talking with
I'm sorry. I'm lost. I can't. When I start looking at the chat, I can't keep up with everything. I'm sorry. It is time and money there.
Yeah, it really is. But it makes sense to get them and do.
Hey, Karen Hermke, thank you for coming in. Glad you're new to our channel.
To do, let them work our land while they're providing for us. So it just makes sense.
Our mirrors, and I'm gonna look into those because the pine thicket I've got, we've cleared out some, and we're trying to get it to where we can use it as a true civet pasture. Right now, it's definitely more of a pine thicket with hedge and brush and a lot of that. I know my American guinea hogs will eat, but because I have a lot of money in my American guinea hogs and their heritage, and they come from a heritage line, we kept them raising piglets and raising our bacon. So I'm thinking about getting some bigger feeder hogs because feeder hogs around our area are pretty economical no matter what breed you go with, just because they're
it would just be really the battery, for the electric battery
outside.
They're not cheap. So
outside, and the boars can be in. Okay, well, see, that's one thing with American guinea hog. We're actually going, as soon as we have these piglets, we're going to move the boar into the second part of our little paddock.
Which will be very easy to do.
Sharon Brazier, we have basically our homestead sits on around 30 plus acres. The main homestead that we farm with our gardens, with our cows, and with our bees, with our pigs, chickens, all that stuff, our main farm sits on about 7 to 10 acres. The rest we have a pond, and then we have. If you ever watched our video where our pumpkin patchy is, we have another garden, basically a market garden on the backside of that pine thicket. So it's encapsulated with about 30 acres or so. So
yeah, and we want to. We all heard us say this before. We want to be good stewards with what God's given us.
Yeah, so we really try to utilize our land the best way. And if you've watched, I want to hit this too. We have another little farm that has another bee apiary and some bigger cows on it. It's some family land. So sometimes you'll see that on our videos too. And we usually tell you if we're there. The reason I do that is because at our homestead, we have set it up like anybody else could, where they don't have to have a tractor. They don't have to use anything, no equipment. Our gardens can be done without equipment. Everything about this homestead, this homestead can be done for anybody. Now we do have another farm that it's a bigger farm, and we have bigger cows on it, and we utilize certain items. So when we go to that farm, we tell you we're on that farm. When we're here, we tell you we're on our homestead. So we always try to keep those separate too, so you can see that. So just want to make a mention of that for some of the newer viewers.
10 piglets. That's awesome.
Wow, look at you. 10 piglets. That's an undertaking.
Yes, it is.
That's an undertaking. Put them in something that they won't get out. Now, my pigs now.
And if you think they can't get out of
they will
sure it up again just to make double sure that they can't get out of it.
We had wood fencing at first when we had piglets. Now I could probably open my pen and my
they would
pigs
go right back in there. Yeah.
But when we first bought our piglets, of course they don't know where they're at. So we had this beautiful wood fence that made it so pretty.
We were taking them out of their normal environment and away from their mama, which they had just been weaned, put them on a new property, away from their mama.
We're gonna try that armor. That's awesome.
And
I've never heard that breed, so I'm gonna check into those.
And they were not happy about it, and we thought we had a good pen, but we didn't. We chased them for 2 days.
Off grid, I do agree that the thing about being sustainable. That's why we have males on our farm. I know you've heard if you're new to our channel, we have males for every animal on our farm. The reason being is because we want a sustainable livestock. We have 2 bulls. We have a big bull that basically takes care of our big herd. We have a dairy bull that takes care of our miniature dairy herd.
Pigs are smart.
Pigs are smart. They're actually cleaner than most animals on our farm.
Our pigs are our cleanest thing.
Our
other than
boar,
our bees.
we have a boar for our pig. We have roosters for our chickens. Our goal is to make sure that we're always sustainable because that way we don't have to worry about having to always buy animals. They're always producing themselves.
And we have not actually butchered and processed our own chickens. But when the aldermans get theirs, they're actually going to process about a week before we do ours. And we're going to go on over and help them so we can get some hands-on. I mean, we've watched it. It seems like a fairly easy process, but hands-on, like Colby is for sure going to do it. And I'm going to help. And
thank you, Grammy Karen.
That's going to be like hands-on. Because we do want to be able to get to the point where not only are we raising our own animals, but we're able to kill off and process and preserve our own animals.
Off-grid desert, you are right. The closer you have to the ground, because they're not going to jump over it, the better. You're exactly right. Yeah. I agree there with that statement. The Mangalista, I think they're a cool pig. I don't think they would work here good unless they're in that city pasture. But I've heard a lot of people say that if they're piglets, sometimes they're not as hardy as some of the other breeds.
Good, Amy. I'm glad you didn't have to chase pigs like we did because we chased pigs for 2 days.
I'm not sure, Jeremiah, again, I'm not sure what you're asking. We are on a computer right now. We do our live on a computer. We do our editing on software on the computer. Our phones usually do a lot of the recording. So if I'm answering that question, I'm not sure.
Thank you, Food Forest.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, Howie. See y'all later. Y'all have a good evening.
And we do need to wrap it up. It's 9:20. Oh, we're missing Single Dad.
Oh yeah, Single Dad next. He's he's on right now.
I think he goes on at 9.
So again, we're sorry we're so late. We try to keep it to an hour, but you guys are so awesome.
Y'all are awesome. And thank y'all. Oh yes, okay. Single Dad is on. So y'all jump off and jump on him. He's awesome. He always has good words.
Tell them we sent you.
Oh, does anybody know? Which I guess we could jump on and ask him.
Yeah, I need to ask him.
We were talking with him briefly about seeing him at HOA, but he didn't come. We didn't see him, and that all goes back to we were in classes. There were some people outside hanging out and talking. We didn't get to really just intermingle and conversate. Yeah, if he was there,
he did not go to HOA. He did not. He said a few days before he was going, so I don't know what happened. So I need to check up with him.
Well, hopefully everything's okay because we haven't. We just started talking about that. We're like, oh, we miss Single Dad, and then.
Yes, right, Amy Wall.
Anyway, good night, guys.
Thank y'all for coming on. Thank y'all for being here.
He will be at the Stivers. Awesome. We'll be at the Stivers too. And there's several people on here that said they were going to be at the Stivers. I can't name them all, but I know there were several. So that's going to be awesome to be able to meet even more awesome people.
Jeremiah, okay, when we get on next, we will try the Alt and F4 so that way you can understand properly our talking because we're a little country. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but we'll make sure we have that on there for you. So I'm sorry about that. I just didn't understand your question.
Really country.
We're not smart on computer, so when you're saying direct on computer, I'm just like, what? What? So excuse me on that. So I will get that fixed for you, Jeremiah. And again, thank y'all so much for being on. Had a great time talking to y'all, and happy homestead, y'all.